Hey, thanks once again for stopping by and clicking on this video. I'm going to continue with another video that follows on from my previous video that you can see here. So if you're wondering who I am, why I'm doing these videos, click this video, have a watch of this. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can then find this video and watch that and learn a little bit about me, who I am, credentials, and exactly whether or not you want to continue watching this channel. So moving on, what I thought I'm going to do for this video is talk about some of the things that you need in order to start making house music on a computer. Now, many years ago, I started out and you weren't just able to do this on a computer. You had to have lots of hardware and computer systems weren't powerful enough then that you could do everything in the box. But things have changed. These days, you can now do everything within a laptop and just add some additional equipment to that laptop, and then you have a fully blown music recording studio at your fingertips. So what I want to do today is just go through these things that you'll need in case you're thinking of starting out. But these videos are going to start very basic, obviously, and then build up. They're aimed at producers who are just considering, or people who want to be dance music producers and considering what they need to do in order to start their journey. I mean, I've spent a lot of money in the past on things that I did need and things that I don't need. So hopefully we can whittle out the things that you don't need, and then you can focus on the things that you have or you do need and you have, and then start making high quality dance music that hopefully can get signed by labels. So let's take a start and we'll have a look at what exactly we will need in order to start making music on a computer. So what I've got here is a little document that I've produced which has some advice in it. This is available for download. I'll put a link into the description. Well, not for download actually, just to click and open. It's a link to a website, so you can look at this at any time, but I'll put a link to this in the description below as well. And before I do go on, I'd just like to say, if you're interested in what I'm going to do with these videos and content, please like and subscribe. Right, so let's make a start. So first of all, when you're going to start out, you're going to need a laptop or a computer, a desktop computer. And one of the things that you need to be thinking about when you buy your computer is the processor in the computer that you're going to buy. So you need to buy the fastest that you can afford. Obviously, you're going to have a budget on what you're going to spend. So you want to make sure that, whatever you have budget-wise, you can buy the fastest processor that's going to give your computer as much power as possible. Once again, memory, another thing that's really important for your computer. Again, recommend buying as much as you can afford. Minimum in terms of memory, I would say 8 gig, 16 gig. Or higher if you can get it. So you can run music software on 8 gigs, but your computer might struggle. But 16 gig would then be just enough. If you need to run lots of samplers and samples, then you need to probably go for something a little bit higher in terms of memory. Storage, again, it's what you can afford. So again, recommending 1 terabyte at least of storage. You can run on probably half a terabyte, then you're limited to the amount of applications you can run on your computer or save on your computer. So I would definitely recommend getting at least 1 terabyte, and then in the future you can buy external storage and add that to your system as well. Now, audio interfaces, really important. It depends on how you're going to set up your studio. If you're going to be a musician who wants to record live instruments, then you're going to have to think about inputs for your instruments. So again, your audio interface is going to be budget dependent. You can use an audio interface that doesn't have lots of inputs and just plug in headphones. They range in price, so you need to do a little bit of research, find out exactly what you're going to be using your computer for in terms of recording music. Will you be recording instruments or just using software instruments? If you're only using software instruments, then you don't need all the additional inputs on a audio interface. Again, cost will determine the quality of the audio interface. So again, you need to be looking at your budget and thinking about, what are the best audio interfaces that you can get. Focusrite are a good example of a brand that has a varying amount of options. So that would be a good place to start. I've bought myself Behringer devices in the past. Again, they're quite cheap. But again, it depends on the quality and what you're going to use your device for. So I recommend probably go for a Focusrite device to start with, maybe, and just use one with as little inputs as possible to get you started. Then if you decide you're going to add more synths, external hardware, or live instruments, you might want to consider upgrading your audio interface in the future. Connections. Now you need to make sure that the laptop you have has enough connections to be able to connect all of these devices. So you might need a connection for external storage as well as your audio interface as well. You're going to have to maybe connect the MIDI keyboard to your device. So you need to make sure any laptops or computers that you buy have enough connections, either USB or Thunderbolt. And if you want to connect an external monitor, you're going to have to think about HDMI connections as well. So that's something to think about. If you're buying a laptop, then your graphics card sometimes isn't configurable. It depends on whether you're buying a gaming laptop or not. But graphics cards are not too important for music production. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on those if you're going to be building a system, for example, or specifying a system of your own. So, again, if you're not going to use it for gaming and only music production, graphics card isn't such a big concern, I guess. And then we get to software, your digital audio workstation. Now, you have a choice of laptops, obviously, or computer systems. You can either go with Windows or Mac. And if you're going to go with Windows, well, then you're not going to be able to install something like Logic Pro because that's only available on Apple Mac. But then if you do buy an Apple Mac computer, or you already have an Apple Mac computer, you don't have any limitations there because most DAWs can run across all or both platforms. So yeah, it just depends on if you intend to be a Logic user or not. That will determine whether you have to buy a Mac or a PC or Windows laptop. So moving on. We've talked about the computer you're there. So the pros of a Mac is that it's easy to set up and configure. Yeah, it's reliable, high performance, and it's the most popular choice for music production professionals. You'll see that most producers and DJs have MacBooks, okay, or they're running a Mac system in their studio. And a Mac, as I said earlier, it can install all the major digital audio workstations, okay. Cons of a Mac is they're more expensive than PCs, but Mac Minis are now becoming much more affordable, so if you want to look at that, but you will have to then connect your own keyboard, mouse and monitor. The computer I have here in the studio is a Mac Mini M2 Pro, and it works perfectly. Performance wise, amazing. I can load as many plugins as I need. I only tend to find that I struggle when I'm mastering tracks, because then we're doing some high-end processing, and it can then maybe start hitting the max or the top end of the processor's performance. But generally in production, works perfectly. So Mac Minis are a good option if you can't afford to buy a MacBook Pro. Okay. The other cons of a Mac is that they're not really upgradable after purchase. So you'll buy a Mac if you want to add more memory or change the processor in it to improve the performance. Can't do that. Okay. The other cons of a Mac is that the OS upgrades sometimes cause some compatibility issues with software and third-party plugins, and then you have to wait for developers to update their software in order to be able to obviously produce or record. So if you're going to go for the Mac and you do see an OS update and your computer system is working fine, recommend waiting until all of the other developers catch up and say that their systems or their software is compatible before upgrading your operating system, because it can cause headaches. Okay, I have been caught with that once before, and yeah, had a problem with Logic and some issues. It was widely reported, and yeah, it was a big regret. But it did get fixed quickly. So Apple, they responded quickly. They fixed the problem with an update, but it was like maybe a week or so, 2 weeks. I had to wait for that to be resolved. So next, PC or Windows computers yet. Pros of a PC, again, more affordable than a Mac. Easy to upgrade and replace faulty parts after purchase. Okay, so you can swap out memories, swap out processors, swap out hard drives by yourself. You know, it's something, or if you want to even update them yourself, add more memory, you can add a larger hard drive. Okay, so that's the pros of going with a normal Windows PC. And again, they are high performance. Cons of a PC, when you're buying from maybe a pre-configured PC from, I don't know, Amazon or something, you might find that you'll end up with cheaper components, which can sometimes affect the reliability in your PC. So again, deciding the brand of PC that you buy is important. If you buy cheap, you'll have problems. If you buy mid-range or high-end PC, then it will be more reliable. Another con of a PC is that when you're buying audio interfaces, sometimes you will have to install their own drivers for the interfaces to work, whereas Macs, generally it's just plug and then they just work. So yeah, that's not a big deal, but it's something to think about. And then finally, if you intend to work or you already work with Logic Pro, can't install that on a PC, it's Mac only. So those are just some cons, but again, you have to think about how you're going to work, what you're going to use, and then make your decisions based on your budget and your own personal requirements. So your digital audio workstation, this is the software you're going to use to create your music, and the most popular choice amongst professionals at the moment is Ableton Live. It can be installed on both Mac and PC, followed by Logic, which is Mac only. PreSonus Studio One is now becoming very popular amongst a lot of electronic music producers, so that's something to have a look at. Then you have Cubase, Fruity Loops, Bitwig Studio, and Reason as well. So there's some different choices there. You can download demos, test them out. Normally you get like a 30-day trial, which will then enable you to decide which one you like best, which one has, let's say, the interface that you get on with best. But also the other things to consider is, the features that you're going to use most often. Some of them have features that you don't use all the time, and it might just be that it's a waste of money. You spend a lot of money on a DAW for features that you're not going to really need. So have a think about what you intend to do, what music you want to produce. Will it just be producing dance music with drums, bass lines, synthesizers, and some vocal samples? And then what can that software do with those features that you want to use? Again, some DAWs have different or varying amounts of synthesizers included or plugins included, so that's something to look at as well. And quality of those plugins and synthesizers. I know Logic has some really nice instruments in there. Reason, I've used that. Again, some great options in Reason in terms of plugins and synthesizers. I also have a copy of Bitwig. Again, another fantastic DAW. I tried Ableton. Didn't quite like the interface. For me, it was, I don't know, I just didn't quite get on with it. But I'm not saying it's bad, it's good, or whatever. I'm not experienced enough to sort of, with that, to comment. It's, again, your choice. Download a demo, try it out, see which one suits you best. Then thing is, another one to think about is upgrades. Now, a lot of these DAWs are now becoming subscription based, which means you obviously pay either a monthly or annual fee to keep that software updated on your system. You can buy what we call perpetual licenses, where you buy it once, but then you normally have to pay for future upgrades as well. Logic at the moment is not charging for upgrades, and Logic is, I would say, reasonably priced. It's not cheap, it's like about £180, but since I've been using Logic, I've never had to pay for an upgrade, and they've upgraded it many times with some fantastic new features as well. So again, if you're already on a Mac and or you have a Mac, you're not sure which DAW to go with, Logic is a very, very good option. Like I said, in terms of upgrades, you don't have to continue paying every year for an update. So again, that's something else to think about when you're deciding or planning what you're going to invest your money into. So here are some considerations for your audio interface. Again, we've talked about this briefly, but the price will determine the build quality of your interface, obviously. Features and reliability and the sound quality, both going in and out of the interface. The number of inputs you will need, okay? You might have a studio with lots of hardware, such as synthesizers, guitars. If you're going to use a real live drum kit, you're going to need a lot of inputs for that. So that's something to think about as well in terms of an audio interface. How many inputs does it have? And then again, your converters, your what they call the digital audio converters within the device. Okay, if you're recording live instruments, you want high quality converters on your device so that you're getting the best quality sound into your computer system as well. So these are things that you need to do some research on and think about before buying an audio interface. Or if you're just going to use it with your laptop and use all of the sounds and synthesizers within your laptop, well, then you don't need lots of inputs. Yeah, you just need like headphone output, maybe an output for your speakers if you're going to buy speakers as well. Okay. Something else to think about with your audio interface is whether you're going to have MIDI inputs or outputs on it. Some synthesizers use MIDI connections, older synthesizers particularly. Others use USB connections where you can plug directly into your laptop, so that's not a big concern then. But if you have an old computer, an old synthesizer that has the MIDI connections, the 5-pin DIN MIDI connections, then you can buy sound cards or audio interfaces that have those connections on them. So it's something to think about whether or not you need those. Again, connection to your computer, all right? Do you have the number of connections available and the correct connections available on your computer that matches the connections of your audio interface that you intend to buy? Some audio interfaces are using USB-C. Older ones have the USB, I think, B type, so again, just check the connections that are available on your computer and the audio interface. Just make sure that you can connect them correctly. You can buy cables, obviously, additionally, that will correct that if you don't have the correct cables, but just something to think about as well. Some audio interfaces, such as the UAD, which I have here, can run their own plugins. Now that's nice because that takes off processing from your computer, which allows you then to run other things on your computer at the same time as your DAW. So maybe if you want a live stream while you're doing some work on your computer, share some information, then you can offload your plugin processing power to your sound card so that you have more processing power for recording videos at the same time. But again, those are generally more expensive, and it might be something that you don't need initially and something to think about in the future. So again, not something you need at the start, but maybe as you get better and you want to then sort of improve your skill sets and sound quality of your mixes, the UAD DSP powered plugins are fantastic. And then the last thing to think about is phantom power. If you're using a microphone or condenser mic to talk and record videos or even sing into your audio interface, okay, then your audio interface will need to be able to provide power to your microphone so that it can work. So you have an option for plus 48 volts called phantom power. There's normally a switch on your audio interface to turn it on and off, which will then provide power to your microphone to make it work. So again, that's something to think about if you have a condenser mic. Does the audio interface that you're going to buy have phantom power or not? MIDI controller keyboards. Now that's something you may or may not want to buy. In the DAWs, you have the piano roll editor where you can draw notes in and move notes around, okay? Change the length of notes. So not a necessity, but if you are used to playing on a keyboard or a piano, and you want to then play live and record your own sort of riffs and MIDI sequences, then you will need to have a MIDI controller keyboard. Same again, price will determine the build quality, its features and its reliability. Something to think about is the number of octaves. If you're used to playing a real piano or keyboard, and that's something you should think about. You can buy smaller keyboards that have a shorter range of octaves. But if you're used to playing normally, then you might want to buy a bigger keyboard with a larger range of octaves, so it gives you a more natural playing experience when you're playing your MIDI controller. Again, some have full-size keys which are weighted as well. Okay, so when you're pressing them, you get a nice feel of the keys. It feels like a real piano. The smaller MIDI controllers generally have plastic keys which are very light, a lot thinner as well than a full-size keyboard. So you may find that your fingers are accidentally hitting a wrong note when you're playing because the keyboard keys are a little bit thinner than a real piano. Connections, again, right, you have the right cables to connect to your computer, USB, Thunderbolt, whatever. Again, something to think about when you're buying a MIDI controller keyboard is knobs and sliders and pads, because you may just want to use your MIDI controller keyboard to control plugins or parameters on software synthesizers. You can connect those via MIDI Learn, and then as you're playing, you can turn filters on or off on synthesizers to increase the filter range, just different parameters while you're playing. So knobs and sliders, which you can assign to different controllers on a synthesizer or an audio plugin, are useful to have. Some keyboards have pads for triggering drums as well. So if you have a software instrument that's a drum machine, you can then tap on the pads and play rhythms for your drum sounds. And then the size of your keyboard. If you have a small desktop, again, you might not have enough space to have a full-size keyboard on your desktop. So you might need to go something with just smaller, has a lower range of octaves, just so that you can fit it nicely on the workspace where you are producing. Okay. And then we move on to headphones. Now, when you're using, I've made a mistake there, as you can see. Could have changed that, but there we go. Again, price is important because it will determine build quality, sound quality, and comfort and reliability of the headphones. Currently, I'm using the HD 650s from Sennheiser. Before that, I was using Beyerdynamic DT 990 Pros. Okay, these were a good option, much cheaper than these. But yeah, what I would recommend though is going with open back headphones. They just feel more natural when you're in your listening environment. I find that when I've been using closed back headphones, I sort of feel that I'm sort of trapped within a space, whereas the open back headphones, they have a grill on the side. It allows more ambient noise in, and it just feels like that you're listening to your music, very similar to as you would be listening on normal speakers, apart from obviously the pressure of the headphones on your head. So that's something to consider. I personally like open head back. I just feel I get a more natural sound from them. Now, another thing you need to think about is the frequency response of your headphones, because when headphones are manufactured, they are manufactured with a design intent in order to sound good. And what you'll find is that most headphones are designed to sound good in the low end, so they enhance the bass, and obviously they are designed to sound good in the higher frequencies, so you get clarity and the overall mix sounds much more exciting. Unfortunately, when you're using headphones for mixing, that becomes an issue, because you then think that you have enough bass in your mix, because your headphones are, let's say, boosting the bass and not your actual, it's not your mix that's boosting the bass, it's your headphones. So you think that you have enough bass when really you don't. And then obviously in the top end as well, you think you might have enough high-end frequencies or level of frequencies, and your mix can sound maybe muddy and lacking in bass when you listen to it on other systems. So something to be aware of there is when you're buying headphones, is to look at the frequency response curve or chart of the headphones so that you can buy one that has the flattest response. That's the reason I bought these. These have a very, very flat response, although they are a little bit light in the bass end. But then in order to fix that, I use something called SonarWorks Sound ID Reference, and that is some correction software. Now, because these don't have a lot of low end, the software then corrects that by boosting the low end of these headphones to make it level or flat. Just add in enough so that the frequency response of these headphones is a flat across the entire frequency range from 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz. And so there is some software, if you're going to use headphones to mix, that you need to think about as well. And then comfort. You're going to be wearing your headphones for a long time. All right, so what you don't want is to have headphones that are really heavy on your head and that too tight on your ears, that are going to make your head sweat and get uncomfortable or have lots of pressure, because you will find that you'll be wearing them for maybe a couple of hours each time. So you want to be comfortable when you're wearing your headphones, and so that you can then use them for longer. And the other thing obviously to think about is volume levels. Don't forget to take breaks so that give your ears a rest, because if you listen to headphones consistently and at loud levels, you could end up damaging your hearing. So that is just some advice for anyone who is deciding to start out and is not quite sure what they should do or buy in terms of hardware or software. I don't want to make, let's say, recommendations on particular products, because I don't know what your budget is. You have to figure that out first, work out a budget in terms of what you want to spend on your music production system, and then from there on, then that's how you'll make your choices. But the computer obviously is the central part and the heart of it. Headphones, really, really important, along with your audio interface as well. So those are the main considerations. You can add a MIDI keyboard at a later date as well. So, but yeah, in terms of producing, and making house music and making it sound good, your headphones are a key part. So is your sound card, and then obviously the performance of your computer is going to help as well, and the software that you choose as well is going to be a personal choice. So that's my just a little video there on how to get started. Hope it's been very useful and helpful for you. And as I said before, if you like the content of these videos and you want to see more, please like and subscribe, and then that enables me to keep making more videos and obviously help you with your production journey. So thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.